So yeah, welcome guys to yet another session of this training. So a quick note, so did you all work on the assignment 3? Can we have a discussion? Is it done, guys? Please let me know. Okay, so people are telling that it's not yet done. Not an issue, just let me have a walkthrough of the same, so that anyways you can refer to it in case if you're stuck up. Okay, so the first question is a pretty easy one. So you want to debug an ABAP program using ADT debugger perspective. So what is the correct answer? We just need to set a breakpoint in the ABAP program and execute the program, right? Yes or no? So only C is the correct answer. Next one. What allows you to resolve errors quickly or warnings reported about the code? So you know that there is a quick fix option which helps you to sort out the same, right? And it is not about debug perspective or ABAP debugger or any other option. Now the next question is, the source code editor in ADT provides many helpful features. What are these helpful features? So guys, can you tell me what is the answer? A, B, C, D. The answer is A and C, right? We can either create a method implementation from the method definition, or we can create a definition from the implementation paths. Getting it? Next question. We need to build an internal table with the help of a value operator and populate the same with the data along with the data types as shown below. So there will be basically 3 components in a line type: year, month and day, and then build an internal table with the help of that and populate 3 records like this. And then what you need to do is perform an iteration on this data and populate each row of the internal table with an ISO format date as in YYYY-MMDD. So, and also it was told to try to make use of the let operator. So nothing, you first build the internal table, local types, and then type standard table of, use the value operator to build the internal table, and then using this, so you need to iterate upon the number of lines of internal table. So see what we have done, do lines of this internal table times, and then since the output will be kind of a string based, right? So embedded string expression, that's why convert it into string. And after that, how to use? So we can obviously use the let auxiliary variable z and read each particular line of this internal table lt dates based on psi index, and again another auxiliary variable like called a separator in, then concatenation of the same. Any doubts up to this point? Okay, I'll take it as a no. So you're working with ADT for Eclipse. Which of the following option belongs to the settings of a specific ABAP project rather than the entire Eclipse workbench? So the answer is only for the ABAP project related specifically. So the answer is only code formatting options. Rest belongs to Eclipse in general as well. This is pretty simple. You need to navigate in ADT from a method name to a class to its method implementation or definition. Obviously F3 is the answer. Then you need to analyze the below piece of code, whichever is mentioned here, and what you needed to do is basically you needed to show the output. So, and also the task was if you can write this part in some other way. So obviously you can make use of the new operator to achieve the same. So if you see here, one variation was like instance of a class new, the class name and whatever object value you're passing, and then the method, or you call with reference to the earlier you used to do, type reference to the local class name and then use the new operator to pass the value, or in this step only right hand side you can club everything. So new LCL report, instance component selector and the method display data. Okay, so here you do not need to get any object reference in a variable back. The object will get created temporarily and also would be available during the memory in the execution of the statement. Which feature does the source code editor provide in ABAP development tool? So you know that already, it's quick fix and content assist. What are all the different factors involved in working with ADT in terms of the ABAP repository objects? It is ABAP class, ABAP interface, and ABAP programs. Then you need to create an internal table and change the content of the internal table. And basically, if you see, it is reference hash, which we had discussed about. The first point to check whether data is there or not. So in case if data is not there, you need to make use of value hash and optional so that the dump doesn't come. In case of line not found, and again with respect to the field symbol concept, the memory, so that that dump also doesn't arise, you need to check whether the data was referenced or not. So if you see here, if ls new is not initial, so that cxsy data ref not assigned, this dump does not come. And for this one, you already know value hash and optional. And now coming to the last question, it's basically with respect to SAP HANA Studio. So SAP HANA Studio can be used, obviously we know that SAP HANA Studio can be used to manage the SAP HANA database, to create and manage user authorizations, to create new or modify existing models of the data. And also it's a client tool which can be used to access either local or remote HANA system. And obviously it's also an IDE which is used to develop the artifacts in an HANA server. Any questions? Ankit, content assist is simple. When you are using Eclipse, when we do control space, automatically assists you with the code completion, also with the content assist, right? Whatever code you are using in your, like example, variables or something, it assists you with the completion of the variable. So basically it gives you the code assist, right? As in the content assist. Okay. Fine, so let's move ahead. So first of all, today we will be discussing about the group by operator. Okay. So before we start with the group by operator, one quick thing. So what I had done, in the interest of saving some time, I just written a select query. So observe the select query. So what this will do, I am selecting data from SPFLI on and storing the data into LTSPFLI. Then again looping that into this. So basically what I want to do, I want to show all the new carrier IDs. Then with respect to this carrier IDs, whatever are the connection IDs and the distance, and then the summation of distance. So if you show you the output of the same, so can you see the output? So carrier ID, then the total distance, then again the carrier ID, all the relevant connections, the distance and the total distance, then again carrier ID, so on and so forth. Now, you people just tell me one thing, if you see this output, isn't this a case of a grouping of data? This char IDs, this is the group of data with respect to char ID. This is the group of data with respect to char ID AZ. So with respect to different char IDs, this is a case of a grouping of data. Yes or no? Tell me guys. Right? So now with respect to this grouping of data, how can I convert this into that by using the group by operator format? So group by is nothing. Basically, it's just an approach to grouping the internal table step by step, but using a different syntax called a group by operator, which is kind of an addition for loop add for internal tables. Okay. So now how do I proceed is, so loop add, what will I do? LT underscore SPFLI, okay, into data ls underscore SPFLI and end loop. Fine. Okay, but I need to group the same. So how do I group the same? So what we will do here after this, what we are going to do is, we are going to group by, okay, group by what? ls underscore spfli and char id, right? ls underscore spfli char id, then either ascending or descending. If you don't write anything, it is by default ascending, and into data, and then suppose I'll say group, and done. Okay, so what does this do? This creates a group with respect to this char IDs. Okay, fine. Now let me just write the same statement again here, and here what I'm going to mention is ls spfli char id. Okay, now after this, for this inner members, I need to do the summation of the total distance, right? How do you do that? So for the inner members, summation of the total distance, so I can write now loop at group. What is the group? Into data ls underscore group members as in, and end loop. Okay, so I'm now looping at the inner group members. So now let me specify this statement. So here I can write ls group mem con id and ls group mem distance, right? After this, now I want to add this distance. So now a quick question, can I do like this, data lv underscore dist then equals to lv underscore dist plus ls group mem and distance? Can I do like this? Can I use an inline declaration here? Guys, tell me, can I use an inline declaration? It is throwing me an error. Can I use an inline declaration here? I cannot use it here. One more restriction. So what I'm going to do is, so what I'll be doing is, I'll remove this inline declaration from here and do a declaration on the top, data lv underscore dist type and spfli distance. Okay, now done. Now let me pretty print this. Okay, and after this end loop, now what we're going to do, skip, and the same thing what I have done here. The only thing, this will be replaced with lv underscore dist, and after this clear out lv underscore dist. Okay, now let me comment out this part and again activate the same. So what do you think, the same output will come, yes or no? So if I do an F8 now, can you see the same? Is the same output coming? Right? So if you see the code here, this is grouping on a basis of a single column, right? This is grouping on a basis of a single column, right? So once again, if I show you the output now, so here another thing is that if you see the carrier ID is also missing, right? The carrier ID is missing. How to get this carrier ID now? So if you see this, This is a plain vanilla simple where I have done simple grouping on the basis of one column, right? Where this contains the first line of each group. Yes or no? LSSPFLI contains the first line of each group, right? So basically this is called representative binding. Now, what if, as we discussed, now in this case we were displaying the carrier ID also, right? So how do we display the carrier ID now? How do we do that? So here, when we are doing group by LSSPFLI char ID, we can specify the components as well. So what I'm going to do now, I will be adding a little bit of twist here. So here I will say now group by char ID equals to LSSPFLI char ID. Okay, and then instead of this LSSPFLI char ID, I will say group char ID. Now what do you think? Will there be any change in the output? So let me do an F8. Can you see the change in the output, guys? Can you see here? So now you can access that particular unique value of the group also. So let me add a point here. So what we did, so I will revert this back to what it was to keep it for your reference. And I will comment this part. So with this, we were not able to see the carrier ID, right? Okay. Now, one more thing. What if I want to restrict the data? I do not want to group by with respect to all the char IDs, but I want to group by only with respect to whatever char IDs I want. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. So add a where condition here, where char ID equals to AA, okay, or char ID equals to suppose AZ. Cool. Let me add a char ID now. Now let me show you the output. So if you see the output now, yes, there is one more change. So how this goes about? Loop at internal table. Now here either you can use into data or assigning field symbol. Point number one. Point number two, this is optional. In case if you want, you can add a where condition. Then this was if you use this particular group by a particular single group, which is called representative binding single column. Then the problem is you won't be able to access that particular grouping column on which you are grouping. Point number three. Now if you do group by, this is the component which you are assigning for this group. It's not that it has to match with this. So suppose if I make it career underscore ID, will it work? If I now make it career underscore ID, so do you see any issue now? Now if I activate the code and if I do an F8, can you see now? There is no difference, right? So this is the column name which you are giving at runtime for the group, and it's not necessary that this has to be same with respect to which you are grouping on the basis of the internal table component. Okay, then by default it's ascending. If you want, you can make it descending as well. So if you make it descending and comment this part of the line and activate the code, now let me do shift and F1 and activate the code, and if I show you an F8, can you see AZ coming first and AA? By default, even if you don't mention ascending, it's ascending, but if you want to do by descending, then it's descending. Then into data or assigning field symbol group, and then for accessing the inner members, again loop add group into this one. Up to this point is the basic part clear. This is what we refer to here. Loop add internal table into or assigning. So into data or work area or assigning field symbol. Field symbol where is optional. Then group by whatever expression you want to give, either then into or assigning field symbol, then the group name. So up to this point, the basic part up to this point, is it clear? So Ankit, I have not sorted. It's not that you need to sort the table. Okay, I had used order by char ID here, right? It's not that you need to do an order by char ID here. Just for purpose I did it here because I was showing you this scenario. If you want, you can remove the order by ID also. It's not mandatory. Okay, now my next quick thing is that so if you see here we are, don't you think we are using two loops, inner loop then group loop, right? Yes or no? So is there any other way through which we can eliminate this? So this inner loop which I am using for the summation of the distance, can I eliminate this? Yes or no? Guys, tell me, can I eliminate this? Yes or no? So what is the concept that we will be using for eliminating this? Yes, by using the reduce operator. So if I select from here, okay, if I select from here and now comment out the same, and now what I'm going to do is, so now I'll comment out, so data LV underscore, now I'll use an inline declaration. Now I'll comment this also. So data LV underscore dist equals to reduce operator. Okay, after reduce operator, then this value will be what I am adding for the distances. So give me a type I, suppose. Okay, and then init, suppose J, type SPFLI distance, okay, for suppose field symbol in group. What is the group name? So group, and next, after that, what next? J equals to J plus ls, that is the field symbol. And what do I need to add? What do I need to add? Distance. So from this grouping, grouped loop, I am using this for ls in group. Next, j equals to j plus the field symbol and the distance. Okay, and now I have used an inline declaration here. Here I can use an inline declaration, right? Here there is, because this was I was using here also, I am using here also, but there is no such restriction here, right? So now if I do the same now, and now if I show you the output, can you see the total distance? Can you see the total distance? Now quick thing, if you see, I avoided the inner loop for this part to get the summation. Now yes, now if you ask me how do I get the members, by the way, how do you get the members in case if you suppose if you need the members also for that group, how do you get the members? So just you need to use an for expression in this group. So for work area in group name, and then you pass all the components and build an internal table on the fly that will create your members. Getting the point? Understood the point, guys? Okay, so now let me create one more scenario. Suppose think that we have here LT underscore SPFLI, right? So for this LT underscore SPFLI, we already know that we have carrier ID, connection ID, count, distance and all, right? So I want to show an output where I'll show the carrier ID count, as in how many carrier IDs are there, okay, for that respective carrier ID, and the total distance covered by that carrier ID. Is my question clear? Is my question clear, guys? So how do I start off with? So first, types begin off. So ty underscore data 1, char ID type, then char ID count type I, and total distance covered type SPFLI, distance, and end of so type standard table of ty underscore data 1 with empty key. Okay. So now let me start building the internal table. So value tt underscore data 1, and here, so first of all, what do I need? I need from this LT-SPFLI internal table. This will be my source. From this I will build up this particular data that we were discussing about now. Okay. So let me make it LT data 1. Yeah. So for groups, group in, for groups, so how do you start for groups? Then whatever name you want to give, group of work area in LT underscore SPFLI, okay. Then group by, what do we group by? Char ID equals to WA char ID and count. So here what will give? Count equals to group size. I will use a keyword here, and then ascending. Okay, I had used already group, so I'll make use of group 1. Yeps, ascending. And now let me give the component names. So here char ID equals to, how will I get the char ID? From group 1 and what? Char ID. Okay. Then next, what is the next component? That is char ID count, right? So char ID count, how will I get this component? From group 1 and then count. Next, what is the next component? Total distance. So for this, can I use a reduce operator here again? So reduce I, and inside this init k type SPFLI distance for work area in group 1, and next k equals to k plus what? So I'll make it SPFLI distance. So next K equals to K plus LS distance, and done. Right? Yes or no, guys? Tell me. So Srini, we have already discussed about reduce yesterday. Reduce is basically doing the table reduction or conditional iteration. So here we are talking about table reduction and the grouping of data to get the summation. I want the summation of the value. Okay, now let's come back to here. So what I have done here, basically my requirement was for an internal table, I wanted to build an internal table and get from LTSPFLI. So in LTSPFLI, I have multiple carrier IDs and the corresponding data for the same. What my requirement was that I want to show all the unique CAR IDs, point number 1, the count of all the unique CAR IDs, point number 2, and the total distance covered by the CAR IDs. What I have done here, I have done for groups, the whatever on the fly, the implicit variable that is going to declare for the group name of, you are going to get the group from where? From LT_SPFLI, right? So what we did here, of work area in LTSPFLI group by, what you are grouping by? CAR ID. So CAR ID equals coming from WA CAR ID. Then this is the keyword I have used to get the count. I did not need to write any logic. This will give me the count of the group. And then ascending or descending, I have given ascending here. So now the carrier ID I will assign with this particular group CAR ID. Count I will assign with this particular group count, and the total distance in this group, right? So as we just did now, init K type SPFLI distance for work area or field symbol in the group name, next K equals to K plus LS distance. So now if I show you the output of the same, so now let me show you the output. Can you see the output now? So all the unique CAR IDs, then their total count from that internal table LT_SPFLI and the total distance covered by them. So guys, can you see how did we achieve the same? In using the concept of, so what is the concept that we used? So if you see, the concept that we used is, we have made use of value operator, point number 1. Then we have made use of for iteration expression, point number 2. Then we have made use of group by operator, right? Point number 3. And point number 4, we have made use of reduce operator. So by all these uses, so value, for expression, group by and reduce. Salman, this is implicit. This is basically the keyword which you need to use for getting the group size. Just count equal to group size. Yeah, Harish, tell me.
Thanks, Kabir. This actually, I wanted to rather more discuss rather than a question. When actually one of my recent projects, there was a requirement to convert actually a SQL statement which was written in another SQL, Oracle SQL, and that has to replicate select join from another system. They were selecting and sending out, and similar logic had to be placed in the ABAP statements. So similar, the concept that you have given me, that same thing, they were doing everything in the Oracle SQL statement, in a normal select statement, because it's easy to define a variable when we are doing a select statement in Oracle, using groups, group by, and also you can sum and set a variable while you're selecting. So
Right.
to accomplish that, I didn't find anything, any other statements. I had to go with multiple loops and again set up. But when I saw the documentation, I saw this new statements grouping. That's when I explored it. But this is pretty useful when we are doing a select on the tables and grouping and sorting at the same time. It reduces lot of lines actually.
Right.
And the performance also is good.
Yes. So if you do the runtime performance also, no, if for the earlier conventional logic. So earlier, if you want to do like this, you will first like loop at this outer loop, then make an inner loop, then try to do the summation, then build all the data, put all the internal table data into like this format. So a lot of codes also go away from performance point of perspective, and also this reduce operator comes into picture for the summation also.
True. Yeah. Even without reduce, helped me a lot of performance actually. This is even better if we use a reduce there.
Right, Harish.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ankit, you can refer to that same also. But do not worry, whatever we are covering, you can easily refer the concepts for the same and implement for your project usage purpose. And this group by concept is very handy because normally we come across very scenarios where when we get multiple group of data, for that first particular unique group of data we want to keep the record, and for the other group of data we want to delete or something, or we want to change the status field or change the comment field. So in that case, when you do the grouping, so apart from keeping the first record, you can easily eliminate all the other records. So this grouping really helps you in that aspect as well.
Generally, we write a grouping in select itself, right, Kabir, most of the time. I mean, when we need a sum amount.
Yes, if you are doing a select query, obviously you will do that group by using the aggregations and all. Yes, obviously. But I'm talking about a scenario where you are not doing an aggregation or grouping from the SQL query. Here I'm talking at the app server level,
Right.
not when you are trying to fetch.
But that to answer, Kabir, our SAP OpenSQL is not flexible in doing the grouping.
Actually, I'll not say that it's not that flexible. If you start using the enhanced OpenSQL or the modern OpenSQL that SAP has now brought about, which is equally competing with your CDS and the other stuffs, you can do a lot of stuffs. You can use a lot of functions, you can use a lot of expressions, you can use case expressions, you can use a lot of arithmetic functions, you can use string functions, you can use inbuilt SQL functions for the ABAP supported functionality. So like obviously it is evolving, but now it has given a lot more powerful features.
No.
It's not that you always need to now go for code push down. The powerful SQLs can also help you to achieve the same. In case if it's just for a single requirement where you want to fetch data, you think about going for a CDS or AMDP, I'll not say. Now your SQL also comes into picture, equally powerful as like them. But yeah, obviously some features you may not get where you feel that, or with respect to the purpose, if you want to build a data model, reusability, consumption point of view, or exposing point of view, obviously that will have different use cases and all. But yeah, maybe to next class when we see the scenarios with respect to the modern ABAP OpenSQL, how powerful it has become and the features that it is providing. So yes, now it is competing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so guys, is this clear?
Hey, Kabir, this will be executed at database level, right? Not on the application level.
No, this is at the app server level. So if you see this,
Then CDS is better, right? If you are using.
why? So if I want to create will you ever go for creation of a CDS view just for a one-time usage? Never. If you do not plan to reuse the data model, or if you do not have any other usabilities of it, it is never recommended to create a CDS view just like that. But if you want to use it as a data model and reuse and expose the same, then obviously you can.
Okay.
That's what I told him. Your modern ABAP OpenSQL serve all your purpose. But there are instances where you need to use group and reduce. You cannot run away from the app server codes. Everything will not be achievable from your DB, like doing a code push down.
Got it.
Okay, so let me. So fine. So if you see, this is what we discussed here. Apart from the group by, we also discussed that with the help of the reduce operator, you can try to avoid the inner loop at group by, but this comes with a clause, right? Because when we saw here this part, this will not give you the inner members. If you again need the inner members, then you can use a for expression on these group members. So that's why I said that comes with a clause. Okay, and if you see, similarly we achieved the table comprehension as well, right? So if you see, when we use reduce also, so what we are doing, basically in this case, we are building a table, right? With the concept of this for groups and this group by and reduce and all. So we are trying to build a table with respect to clubbing all these concepts. Okay, now let's move to one of the favorite concepts called the usage called the corresponding operator. So if you see in the group by operator, basically you can do a single grouping with the help of a single column. That is what we were doing. So you can group by with a single column. So now if you want to group by with multiple columns, so this see here, one column, another column I created, right? Or I'll give you an example here. Group by carrier ID. If you want to group by with something else also, so you can give that other component name also. So in that case, you can do with grouping by with more than one column. So this is whatever component name you are giving for your group. So there will be no comma, okay? So component 2 equals to whatever from this LSSPFLI, whatever you want to match up with. So in that case, it will be grouped by with more than one column. So group by a single column, group by with more than one column. In case when we were doing group by with a single column, this was called as representative binding. And then we did group by with more than one column. Okay, fine. So these are the two scenarios which you can use, and also we talked about the different where is an optional ascending or descending. So you can add those conditions also as you need. Okay, now what we were talking about, the corresponding operator. So this corresponding operator is nothing but what all you have been doing now. Remember, move corresponding and all those things. On the similar lines, you have now the new version called the corresponding hash operator. So In the corresponding operator, how the syntax goes about is, on the left hand side you have your target expression or whatever you want to get data with the help of the corresponding expression. Then the corresponding either a type or a hash, as you have been seeing for all constructor expressions, and then the source. So the source values will be moved from the right hand side to the target values on the left hand side. Okay, now here whatever concepts you have been studying till now all will be getting clubbed up. So for just saving time, I have declared something. So just let me pull up. Yep. So what I've done is, I've created 3 line types having one component, column 1, column 2, sorry, 2 components, line 2 having 3 components, and line 3 having 2 components. Okay. Now, what we want to do, a plain simple case, data ls underscore line 1. Okay. So with the help of the value operator, suppose I will build the data on the basis of line 1, column 1 equals to 2, and column 2 equals to 4. Okay. Now, if I do write this statement, move ls underscore line 1 to ls underscore line 3. So for that, ls underscore line 3 has to be declared first, right? Can I use an inline declaration here? Move ls underscore line 1 to data ls underscore line 3. Is it possible? So if I write like this, is it possible? No, right? It's not allowed. So I have to use move ls underscore line 1 to data ls underscore line 3. Instead of that, what I can do is corresponding operator. Can I use an hash? Okay. And now from where will I get the data for this corresponding hash? Where will I get the data from? So I want to get the data from ls line 1, right? But can you see here, it is not able to derive any type. In case if we get this error, so this ls line 3 is referring to line 3. Okay. So now, so what will be the values of ls line 3? So if I put a breakpoint here and trigger the debugger, so ls line 3 will be, so if I expand the same, column 1 2 and column 2 4, the same values, right? So now let me close this. I will comment this part. And I'll comment this part as well. Okay. Let me activate the code. Yups. Okay. Now let me first of all build up data ls underscore line 2 on the basis of the value operator line 2, and let me build data into column 1, column 2 and column 3. So column 1 equals to 4, column 2 equals to 5, and column 3 equals to 6. Okay. Now if I write ls underscore line 2 equals to corresponding hash ls underscore line 1, what will happen, guys? So if I write like this, corresponding hash ls underscore line 1, can you tell me what will happen? So will all the values be overwritten? So this was 4 5 6. Now I am trying, this is my target, source is ls line 1, which was having 1 and 4. Will the output be 1 4 and 6? Will the output be 1 4 and 0? What will be the output? What will be the output? So column 3 shall be initial, right? So let me show you all. So this is ls line 2. So if you see here 2, 4 and 0. So isn't it the same like your move corresponding? Isn't this the same statement like your move corresponding? Yes or no? Move corresponding ls underscore line 1 to ls underscore line 2, right? So Jace, it will not be 2, 4 and 6. Remember that. It will not be 2, 4 and 6. First of all, column 1 was 4, but I am passing ls underscore line 1, which is having 2. So 2 came. 5 got replaced by 4, but 6, there was no component here. So 2, 4 and 0, same like move corresponding. Now, you all tell me how to keep the base value same. Tell me the twist. If I want to keep that 6 safely, how do I do that? What is the addition or what is the twist? So if I write corresponding hash and then I write a base statement, okay, and then I write ls underscore line 2, okay, and then I write this. Now tell me what is the answer. Guys, can you tell me what is the answer? So if I again execute the debugger, ls underscore line 2, now see the magic, 2, 4 and 6. Jace, now did you understand? So your savior is your base statement. So here the non-matching components will not be initialized, but the structure should have existing values. So when you use that base with corresponding non-matching components will not be initialized, but obviously the structure should have existing values, right? Otherwise how will it happen? Okay, now let's add more twist to it. Now what do I want to do? Now my requirement is that I want to pass the values. So let me first comment this out. Now my requirement is I want to pass the values to ls line 2 from ls line 1. Listen to me carefully. But I want to map the value of column 3 with column 1. Is it clear? So what is that we will do? So ls underscore line 2 equals to corresponding hash, okay, and now transfer the data from ls underscore line 1, okay, sorry, but what did I say? Mapping of what? So if you do control space, map this side's component column 3 with which side's component? Column 1 of ls line 1. Remember, here you cannot use any expressions because this has to do the mapping of whatever component as is which is existing on the target side to the component as is which is existing from the source side. So if you will that I'll map column 3 with some constant or some other variable, no, it cannot be possible. So you just need to understand whatever component on this target side, map it with the component on the source side. But yes, I want to map this column 3 with the column 1 of ls line 1. So now what will be the output be? Can anyone tell me the output? What will be the output in this case? So what will be the output? 2, 4 and 2. So let me again trigger the debugger for you all. So it is 2, 4, 2. Yep. Let me do an F8. Let me come out of the debugger. Yep. So now let me add one more twist. Now what if I do not want to map column 3? So if I write this statement, ls underscore line 2 equals to corresponding operator, corresponding hash, okay, then ls underscore line 1 and except column 3, what is the output? Can anyone tell me what is the output for the same? So what is the output, guys? So if you see here, ls line 1 4, 5 and 6 initially. Now when I do ls underscore line 1, what will be the value? Will it be 4, 5 and 6, or will it be what? So 2, 4 and 0. So 4 will come with 2, 5 will come with 4, column 3, we are not doing anything, but the only problem is it will become 0. It will not, the base value will not be retained. So when you do except, do not think that the base value will be retained. So if you are using an except, so if we are using except, in case if there is no passing of any component value, then it will be initialized. Okay, so now can I use mapping and except together? So if I comment this, and what if I write like this, ls underscore line 2 equals to, so what I'm going to do is corresponding hash, okay, ls underscore line 1, okay, what I'm going to do, then after this map column 3 with column 1, okay, and except column 1, column 2. What will be the output for the same? Guys, what will be the output? So this is ls underscore line 2. So why it will be 200, man? It will be 002, right? Column 3 I am mapping with column 1, but rest also I am making it 0, no? I have done an except, right? Okay, now what if I add a one more twist? What if I want to retain the values of ls underscore line 2 as well? What if I want to retain the values of ls underscore line 2 as well with this particular condition? So now add everything. Now life becomes much more happier. ls underscore line 2 and done. Now everything, whatever you understood till now, club everything together and enjoy the show. So now if I do an F8 and ls underscore line 2, so what is the output that you're expecting? The value gets retained, right? And this gets mapped. So all clubbed together, this is what is your output. So I used base also, I used corresponding hash also, I used mapping also, and I used except also. Is it clear, guys? So you can make use of corresponding with base, mapping, and except. Now one quick thing is that except will always come after mapping in case if you are using mapping and except together. It will not be that except will come before mapping. Remember that. Except will always come after mapping whenever you are using mapping and except together. Mapping, that's you know, that's a very good scenario, you know, Srini. Like while writing the code, I thought of a lot of situations. I want to map this with some other variable which is outside. And if that would have been given by SAP, I would have been dancing around. Life would have been so easier. I never needed to use loop at then. And why I said that statement, my dear friend, when did I say? I never said, right, that you cannot go away with the old code. Did I say that? Remember, that is the reason. Because this comes with restrictions. So when this comes with restrictions, your old friends are always helpful, as in your old syntaxes are also helpful when you come across those scenarios. Right? What do you say, Srini? Yes, we are eagerly waiting. Okay, so now on the similar lines, let's do it for internal table also. And just for saving time, I have done the declaration for that as well. So what I've done here is I have created 3 table types on the basis of the line type, which is having a single component, on the basis of the line type, which is having 2 components, and on the basis of the line type, which is having 2 components but 2 different components, field 1 and field 3. Okay, and this is the value which I've already passed to the same. So now let me first activate the code. Okay. So now if I do move corresponding, okay, LT underscore type 1 to LT underscore type 2, what will happen? So move corresponding LT type 1 to LT underscore type 2. Tell me what will happen. What is these are very basic things. Sometimes we really forget, but I just want to make you recall. What is that you are going to expect? Tell me. This is LT type 1. This is LT type 2. I am trying to move this contents of this to this. What is the output that you will expect? Tell me before I show you the output. No one. So LT type 2, right? What is that you are expecting? Nobody. So in LT type 2, nobody. So when I did move corresponding to LT type 2, values in one field 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. So what is the output? So field 1 became 1, but will field 2 change? Or if you see, this is LT type 1, which is having this component only, field 1, field 1. This is having 2 components, field 1, field 2. So do you see any change in the output? Tell me. LT type 1, this is having a single component. So let me again run the debugger. I'll put the breakpoint here. So this is my LT type 1, right? Which is having 2 records. This is my LT type 2, which is having 3 records, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is my LT type 3 leaf. And now when I do LT type 1 to LT type 2, can you see? So it will be 1 and 0, 2 and 0. The data here will be overwritten. So field 1 got overwritten from 3 to 1, 5 got overwritten from 5 to 2. Since this was not having anything, it got overwritten to 0, Since this was not having anything, it got overwritten to 0. And this third record was not there, so obviously it got eliminated. Now, what if my requirement is that I want those lines also to be there? What if I add keeping target lines? Can anyone tell me what will be the output of the same now? What will be the output of the same now, guys? Anyone? So you say 2 and 4. I did not understand what. So you are saying only 0 to 0, 4, nothing else. So Harish is telling 1 and 4. So it will be 1 and 4 and nothing else. 1, 4, 2, 6 and 7, 8. You are somewhat closed. Somebody is saying all the values. So now observe carefully. LT type 2, this is the initial values, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now when I do this, magic, the target fields, so the base values remain as it is, and this comes into the picture, gets appended, keeping target lines, append the new lines to the older lines and let the older lines be like that. Got the point, guys? What does this move corresponding and including the addition keep target lines do? Now the same thing, if I want to do like this, can I write LT type 2 equals to, let me comment this part, and now can I write corresponding operator, okay, corresponding hash, okay, and here can I write base LT underscore type 2, okay, and LT underscore type 1. This output and this output, will it be same or any difference? Tell me, guys. Line number 829 and line number 831, will you see any difference in the output? So if I put a breakpoint here, LT underscore type 2, see, the same output came. So it's why I showed you this. So in case if you were writing this earlier, you can write this now. It serves the same purpose, right? Yes or no? Now one more, LT underscore type 3 equals to corresponding hash. Now if you see here the components are different. No, it's not field 2. So corresponding hash base. Always remember the spaces and all that I give. If you do not give spaces, it will start throwing you errors. LT type 3, okay, then LT underscore type 2, okay, and mapping, I'll map what? Field 3 to field 2, and I'll not map except field 1. So guys, tell me what will be the output here? I have tried to retain the values of LT type 3, mapped field 3 to field 2, but except field 1. What is the output that you're expecting? And this is LT underscore type 3. Can anyone tell me before I show you the output? What is that you're expecting? And also consider this thing, 831 also. Nobody? Any answers? So let me do an F8. So LT type 3, right? F5. Can you see LT underscore type 3? So see the output. So what happens? 33, 30, 35, 30, 37, 30, right? This stays as it is, yes or no? The base, the first part. Now I'm trying to map from LT type 2, but field 3 to map to field 2. So 4, 6 and 8 as it is, because I was using keeping target lines, right? Fine, up to this point clear? But I did not map field 1, so this became 0. And now the two other rows which got appended, so it had only field 1, right? But which I am not mapping it here. So this also becomes 0 and field 3 is also 0. Guys, did you understand? Any doubts? One second. So this is my LT type 2 now, right? LT type 3, if you see, this will already 33, 30, 35, 30, 37, 30. So what will start getting mapped? 4 and 6 and 8. This is already 0, 0 and this all will be 0, zeros. Now did you guys understand? Now one more quick question. With this help of this concept that you just understood now, tell me, do you really need to use append work area to internal table? If you are populating internal table on the fly with the help of a work area, do you really need to use append work area to internal table? Can I write internal table equals to corresponding hash base, same internal table, and then here value the table type and then the work area components, or the value the table type, open braces, close braces, and the components inside that, the work area, right? Yes or no? So that's what I said.
Yeah, Kabir. Yeah, when we have like too many fields, Kabir, like if you want to only fill two or three fields, then how do you move it to the internal table? Actually, I was trying that. I couldn't do that in the real-time project.
No, then in that case, you cannot do that.
We cannot do that. We have to put space. We cannot do the space also.
No, that's what I said. No, here only while, that's why I was saying clearly. See, when I was doing the mapping, I was again and again pressurizing.
Right.
So if you see here, while, for example, this scenario, you cannot put this with a space or some other expression or something. This has to come from the source and the target. It has to match like that. And even for suppose append work area to internal table, base will remain the same internal table, right? This will remain as it is, what is here. Now here when you try to build, it will be then the value operator and then whatever you are trying to build. So now when you're trying to build the work area, basically you're trying to populate the components of the work area using a value operator, right? So if the components, if you miss any component, what will happen? That component will go for space if you miss any component. But if you and then again using corresponding hash inside, then obviously these restrictions will again come into picture.
Right. Oh, thank you.
Okay. Oh, so guys, can we have a 3-4 minutes break? What do you say? Okay, so let's connect it around 8:48, 8:49. Guys, can we start? Now let's club corresponding with a concept called lookup table. So yesterday you saw filter, right? Similarly, you can do corresponding from a lookup table. So before we move to that, so as we just discussed about, so if you want to make use of base, then you can append the initial source data or keep the source data intact as it is, and components with the different names can easily be mapped explicitly using the mapping clause, and same names if you want to exclude, then you can use except. Mapping and except you can use separately or together, but if both are used together, then obviously except has to come after mapping. So as you see here, mapping column, so different component names, and except comes after mapping. Okay. Also, one more thing is that with respect to discarding duplicates, so if you see here, with respect to corresponding hash, we have been using the delete adjacent duplicates, right? So you can add an addition discarding duplicates. So the only thing is that the table, as in the source and the target table, so the source table should be what? It should be sorted, right? Like when we use delete adjacent duplicate, before that we sort the data. Similarly, the source table should be sorted, and you can use a delete adjacent duplicates with the replacement discarding duplicates additional statement, and it will not transfer the duplicate data while moving from the right hand side as in the source to the destination on the left hand side. Don't worry, I'll show you scenario, but not now, just hold on. Let me first do corresponding with lookup table. So let me create a scenario. Types begin off. So let me comment line 3. So yeah, begin of line, PO num, type abelian, status type string, okay, and end of line, and then begin of line _1, PO type abelian and comment type string, end of line _1. Okay, so now let me create two internal tables. I have one type standard table of line width empty key. Okay, remember that when you are using a lookup table, so basically from a lookup table you want to use the corresponding operator. So basically you want to check for data from the combination of a lookup table and then pass data to another internal table. Okay, so in that case the lookup table that you will create, that needs to either have a sorted or a hashed key, similar to what we were doing in filter operator. So here also type sorted table of line _1 with unique key. So this I am creating for my lookup table. Okay, PO. Now let me put the data I tab 1. So whatever we did yesterday, so let me again reuse those concepts. So value I'll make it L tab 1. So now while building, let me use for I equals to 1, okay, until I becomes greater than equals to 10, okay, and what is the components I'm going to pass? So PO num, right? So PO num equals to LT underscore EKKO, then, sorry, but before that, let me pull some data to LT EKKO. So what can I write? Select from EKKO fields Berlin, Bucharest, then document type and STYP into table @data LT underscore EKKO and up to 10 rows. Okay, and now here what I'm going to use is I and done, and for I what? Evelyn. Okay, and now I'll build my another internal table, data L tab 2 equals to value operator I tab 2, and now what I'm going to use here is I'm going to pass values to both PO and comment. So for PO I will be passing to LT underscore EKKO. Suppose I'll pass to the second index value and comment equals to, suppose, released. Similarly, I'll create 3 more records. And here I'll pass, suppose, row value 3, row value 5 and row value 8. Okay. So now this is my one internal table, this is my other internal table. What do I want to do is, I want to pass data to this table L tab 1. L tab 1 from where? So in L tab 1 I will look for L tab 1 PO numbers in L tab 2 and pass the corresponding status to the comment. My requirement is that here if you see in L tab 1 I have only PO number filled up, right? My status is not filled up. So I will look for this corresponding POs in this lookup table for this particular POs in L tab 2 and map the comment to the status. Okay. So how do I go about that? L tab 1 equals to corresponding operator, corresponding hash. So from where do I look up? So I look up L tab 1 from which lookup table? L tab 2. Then using PO underscore, so using what? What is the component here? So which for L tab 2, in L tab 2, what is the component? PO, right? So in L tab 2 using PO equals to PO underscore num. And what will I map? I'll map what? Map status with comment and done. So if you see here, one twist is here first this will come using this from I tab 2 using which field? Using PO and mapping this with checking from where? From L tab 1 PO num and then mapping this. So now if I show you the output, Can you see the output? The rest all remains as it is. And again, now if you want to filter the data that you do not want to show this, which is not released, right? Now you can club that concept with filter operator. So the thing that you did yesterday, this part, where did it go? 1 second. This filter operator. So then you define it like this. Type sorted table of that with non-unique sorted key, and then filter that out and display only that it is which is coming as released. Understood, guys? If you want to further do that. Guys, did you understand how to use the corresponding with lookup table? So if you see here, internal table, from the lookup table using key and the key name, whatever keys you are trying to map, and then the mapping. The only thing is that this concept, corresponding operator with lookup table, can obviously use only for the internal tables, and the lines of the resultant table will come from the comparison of this internal table and this lookup table. Understood the point, guys? Any queries up to this point? Now a quick question, let me ask you all. Here I am getting the data, right? What if I tell you, can you give me the count of the lines? Can you give me the count of the lines where in this data, suppose LT underscore EKQ. First let us see what all data is here. So let me go here. I'll do F8. Okay, so my question is, can you give me the count of lines in this internal table where the company code is 1010? How will you proceed? Can anyone tell me? I want the count of the lines for which the data in this internal table is having a company code equals to 1010. How will you proceed? So with for and reduce, right? Why group by? Harish, why do you want to use a group by? So if I write a statement like this, data LV underscore lines, okay, and reduce operator, suppose I'll take into, okay, or I can take I also, anyway it's a short number only. So reduce I and, sorry, init A equals to 0 for ls EKKO in LT underscore EKKO, where condition Bucharest equals to 1010, right? And after that, next A equals to A plus 1, right? I'll get the output. Earlier what we were trying to do, loop at internal table. So earlier what we used to do, loop at LT underscore EKKO transporting no fields, right, where Booker is equals to 1010 end loop, right? And here what would we use to write? Suppose if we clear this out, LV underscore lines equals to LV underscore lines plus 1, right? But for that, obviously that needs to be declared. So just let me uncomment it back. So now, rather than writing like this, now if I write it like this, LV underscore lines plus equals to 1. Now tell me, what is this? Is this ABAP? LV underscore lines plus equals to 1. C plus plus C. A plus equals to 1. Ankit, you wanted to say something? Hello? Okay, it's clear now. Okay. So it's not that you need to use LV lines, you can use only plus equals to, you can use into equals to, you can use minus equals to, you can use divide equals to. So if I do LV underscore lines, okay, minus equals to 1 and Control Alt and coding, let's make coding faster, and into equals to and divide equals to. So this I'll make it 2 and this I'll make it 2, and let's enjoy the show by the debugger mode. So let's see what we have in store, and let me put a breakpoint. Let's see. So I'll do an F8. So LV lines F5, the value is 5. Okay. So anyways, LTKKO, so what will be the value coming? So let me jump onto this statement. So let me put a breakpoint here and let me do an F8 here. So now the execution is at this place. So LV lines, the value is 10. So 10 minus 1. So can you see the value becoming 9? 9 into 2, the value becoming 18. 18 divided by 2, the value becoming 9. Enjoy like C++. So basically this is your shorthand operator which I was just showing. Similar to this, you have something called like how you have. So what we do normally, we check like if number 1 is greater than or equals to number 2 or number 1 is less than or equals to number 2, then we assign that value to some other variable. In some cases, right, we use if block and all. So one situation which I have showed you now is that you can make use of conditional expression or switch, right? One which we have already discussed. But in simple scenarios, if you are just comparing numbers or characters or something, you can make use of the shorthand operators which are called nmax, nmin, cmax, cmin. You can use this as well. So simply what you need to write is, suppose if you are trying to compare between 5 or 6 arguments, so it supports up to 9 arguments, okay? And like value 1 equals to any value, suppose 4, value 2 equals to 8, value 3 equals to 5, value 4 equals to 3. It has to go in that sequence, okay? And similarly for nmin, you can pass up to 9 arguments as well. It will give you the minimum value. Like how you have for the numbers, you have for the characters also, like the cmax and cmin. So when you compare, it will similarly, like we compare in the string literals and the ABAP dictionary, similarly it will compare like that. Sorry, the English dictionary. So if you are comparing Australia and Austria, so whichever, if you use cmax, so whichever comes first, like maximum in terms of your English dictionary, you will accordingly get the output. You can play around with these nmax, nmin, cmax, cmin. These are called your shorthand operators. Up to this point, any doubts? Let's move ahead. Okay. So what we will do now is that we will pull up data from an S-flight table, and then we will build up our range table. Okay. So what I'll do is data LR_char ID type range of, I think it is S_char_ ID. The Yeps. Yeah. Now let me pull data from S-flight. So select from S-flight, then fields asterisk, where con ID, suppose let me give, we had seen 17, I think 0017 and 555, yes. So where con ID in 17 and 55, then into table @data LT_S-flight. Okay. So now what I want to do is, if this is successful, and end if. So now I want to populate data to this range table from this LT_S-flight. Can you tell me, guys, how will I do it? Can any one of you tell me? So can I write LR_char ID equals to value hash? So for ls_data in, or I can write ls_value, that will be better. ls_value in LT_S-flight. Okay. And then sign equals to inclusive, right? Option equals to low value equals to ls value char ID. Yes or no? What is the output of LR_char ID will it be? What is the output that you will see? Tell me. So if I display the output, CL demo output, and so let me see. I hope I am not printing anything. Nope. Yeah. So if I do an F8 now, so is it looking good? Is it looking good? Tell me. Guys, is it looking good? Is it looking good? How many times A is coming? So what is, I need only I equals to A once, I equals to AZ only once. Similarly for all individual char IDs, I need that only once, right? So what should I do for that? What do I need to do for that? So one way is sort LR_char ID by low, right? And delete adjacent duplicates from what? LR_char ID, and then comparing low, right? If I do it like this, now what will be the output, Salman? So let me first activate the code. Now this is what, doesn't this look better as compared to what you were seeing earlier, Salman, right? So this was your approach 1. like how you used to do earlier. So now I was talking about discarding duplicates, right? So now for this way too, so I want to pass data from this LR underscore char ID, comment this LR underscore char ID to another internal table. I do not want to use these two statements, but while populating the data, I want to discard all the duplicate data. Okay, understood my point? So how do I do that now? Can anyone tell me how do I do that now? Anyone? Filter. What if I do not want to use filter? So to do that, suppose data LR underscore char ID 1 and corresponding operator, now corresponding hash, what I was telling, from LR underscore char ID, and then I was talking about discarding duplicates. Okay, but now there is a twist. To do this, first of all, this needs to derive a type, right? Okay, and second, this needs to be a sorted type, right? We had discussed about this, right? So this, where the value is going into this LR underscore char ID 1, when I am doing a delete adjacent duplicates, this I am first sorting it, right? So where the duplicate values will not go, that needs to be a sorted table, right? LR underscore char ID 1. So I need to refer this to a sorted table type. So how do I do that? So if you use only LR underscore char ID here, Ankit, okay, if you use this, now I'll show you what will happen. If you do this, okay, now let me just copy this. Okay, so now let me do an F8. So this is your initial value. So do you see any duplicates going away? Ankit, did you see any duplicates going away? No, right? So is there any impact of this statement? So now when I make this a sorted, so the restriction, what does the restriction come with sorted? What does the restriction come with sorted? So it will not allow you to, if you sort this with something and then you discard duplicates, what will happen? Only the unique values will start going out, right? But here, since I did not make it sorted, all the values went, you did not see any impact, right? So now data, as we were again discussing about data LR underscore char ID 1, suppose, and now hash. I have to refer this to a type. So what is the type? Now how do we set it up? So for that, how do I go about? This is your range table, right? So from range table, can I create a work area ls underscore char ID like line of LR underscore char ID? Okay. And now can I say types begin of ty underscore char ID and full period. Now include structure. What is the structure? ls underscore char ID, right? And types end of, sorry, I need to put a period here. Types end of ty underscore char ID, and now tt underscore char id type sorted table of ty underscore char id with unique key low. And now if I refer this to this type, that is tt underscore char id here, okay, and now if I activate the same, now if I show you the output, see here, Ankit, now are you able to understand? So guys, I did ls underscore char id like line of. What if I do here, type, do you see any problem? Similar problem like what we were doing yesterday. You will get the same problem. Because I'm including the structure. That's why like line of. Yes, you will need keys, no, right? I am creating a sorted table of, Ankit. This is my sorted table of. With sorted table, either unique or non-unique key, those concepts will come into picture, right? Okay. So now you saw way 1 and way 2. Is there any other way out? Guys, is there any other way out? Can I create a range table on the fly if I do not do all these things? I did so many things, right? Now select from sFlight fields. Okay. Now see here, distinct. Okay. Distinct I as sign equal. Now I'll show you the power of SQL. Option and char id as low, then at the rate space as high, and where con id in 17555 and order by low and into table at the rate data lt underscore range char, right? And now if I do output of the same here, so now if I make it lt underscore range underscore char, okay, and if I activate the same, so output number 1, output number 2, so directly so many lines of code, new way of coding again, way number 2, again another new way of coding from directly from a select query itself. So guys, how is it? Did you enjoy this? Did you enjoy this? Or which one? And in this note only we will wind up here, and from this point only we will start from modern ABAP SQL, how you use SQL on your internal tables, what is the power of SQL, and all these stuff we will discuss about in the next class along with RTTS and RTTI. We'll devote time to the concepts of SQL, how to use SQL, what was there before SQL. Now there is a concept called SQL where you can use your select queries on your internal tables, what was before that, then your RTTS and RTTI. That is the reason why I ended on this note.
Kabir, actually, I wanted to know about how many sessions are required more.
Your voice is breaking.
I wanted to know how many sessions will the course require more?
Okay, minimum 3, maybe maximum 4.
Okay.
I had told you, right? I had told you, no, I will not limit to 10 classes, remember?
Kabir, main is interfaces. I wanted to cover that part.
Interfaces as in?
XML, how to convert that.
That will come, do not worry.
Okay.
We will discuss in the last 2 classes. So one class will be on your REST API, JSON data handling and all. And the last class will be on your XSLT transformation. And when we do,
also, yeah.
yes. And when we do REST API, there itself we will see how to use Postman to play around with the REST APIs. But I want to go slow. I don't want to rush.
Yes, okay. Kabir, actually, I also wanted to know, can we use the OData here from the Eclipse? There is a T code SEGW in the GUI. So, can we use that here? Or do we need to open GUI in Eclipse only?
Okay, so what you do is Alt and F8, SEGW, transaction, done. But it will open in your integrated SAP GUI editor only. Understood? So I showed you a very direct use of the shortcuts Alt and F8. So if you see now, whatever shortcuts we have covered or whatever concepts we have covered, we have always tried to reuse as the days have gone by, right? We have always tried to reuse everything, either in terms of the shortcuts, in terms of the concept with respect to programming, ABAP programming in Eclipse, or even with respect to the modern ABAP new syntaxes. So anyways, in the next class, we will be covering your with respect to SQL queries, a SQL on internal table, what is the restriction behind it, what was before that, and then your RTTS and RTTI basically, and then we will quickly jump on to your REST APIs, Postman, JSON data handling, XML, and XSLT transformation, and how you handle XML data. So I think someone was asking that question, XML and all. Now, did you get your answer? And that's why I said minimum 3 class, maximum 4 class.
Kabir, and one more question. So are you going to cover SOAP APIs also?
No, we'll be covering the REST APIs, not the SOAP-based APIs. Anyways, now you have mostly the REST APIs only. Even if you integrate data with a cloud solution and all, if you are pulling data to an on-prem solution, or you are sending data to a cloud solution or to any other external solutions, like example, it can be any company, XYZ solution or SAP's own cloud solutions, Ariba, Concur, SuccessFactors, all I have now moved on to REST APIs.
Oh, okay, yeah. But will you be able to provide some overview of SOAP API and basic differences between SOAP API and...
So SOAP and that, we have already a video, you can refer to just in our Zapier channel. We have a video where there's a video has been uploaded on respect to the SOAP and the web services SOAP and all the concepts. You can refer to that.
Oh.
Detailed video is there of 30 minutes and odd.
It's already there in the...
Yes. It's already there. Just search in Zapier SOAP and just see the difference. You will get it. A 30-minute odd video is there.
Okay, so that covers all the differences between basic API.
Yeah, that talks about the basic differences, like what do you mean by a SOAP, what do you mean by a XML and all this. It's there.
Okay.
Hey Kabir, a question.
Yep.
When we are talking about a REST API call, I understand that we use it for communicating with the cloud applications and outside SAP integrations. But to get starting with using REST API with SAP system, most of the clients doesn't allow integration directly with SAP system. How do we justify that to use a REST API with SAP system directly? Or is there a change in the way SAP suggests?
So first of all, if you look at the SAP's direct solutions, apart from the certificate and trust, there is no other restriction what I have observed till now. When you talk from directly the own SAP's cloud solutions, okay, the only thing, or even the other solutions, the non-SAP solutions also, the most thing that we have observed is basis team has to work only on the certificate part to set up the trust, like as into like make a trust with the proxy servers and all. But apart from that, we have not found any other restriction. Yeah, but in some cases where if other teams are not able to get a data, example like OData, like if in OData and all, if you are on intranet connection, obviously you will not find that complexity if you use a basic authentication or a XML authentication. But in some cases where if you are failing, like anyways, like what people used to do earlier, they used to do POPI and the other those integrations to send data and all, and then the data will flow from these middlewares, right? But with respect to the REST APIs, if you ask me till now, the only complexities that have come is with respect to the trust setup, with respect to the certificate authentication and all, which the basis team handles, and the proxy setups. Apart from that, I have not faced any other complexities where we have not been able to connect.
Yeah.
It is not that it's connecting or not connecting. It's suggesting clients or taking them into confidence that using this is security wise is okay.
Yeah, this is if you see so if you first of all when I show you the REST API concept on that day, there you will see that every particular, so suppose you are a particular using a REST API for some particular cloud solution, okay, and the same cloud solutions API is being used by another customer, suppose customer A and customer B. Customer A will have its own particular API keys which will not allow the data breach to happen to any other customer. So with that API key, which is kind of a unique authentication for you, and that will get generated when you basically register for that API with respect to this customer. So that will create a kind of a unique authentication for that customer itself, and that there will be no kind of a data leakage or something, because you are using that authentication with respect to that API key, or some bearer authentication or tokens are there which will help you to authenticate. Until and unless without that you will never be able to get data or send data, and that token and authentication will be applicable only for that customer. That's how they have started building solutions.
True. Okay. So
and then the other customer cannot use that. They will again have to register for their own token and own authentication.
True. Yeah, there are a lot of encryption there that would help to secure, but they don't use the address from where they are pinging. So that's what my issue is, because most of our SAP systems are financial systems or inventory systems, right? Main system, SAP systems would be the core record keeping applications. So they don't even allow, mostly if you gateway kind of application, if you have it, I guess that would be helpful.
So if you see OData is also a kind of an API only, right?
Yeah. Exposed.
So
yeah, that's how they
OData is also kind of an API only. So it's just that they are giving you directly. So if now we also, whenever we are now giving data, earlier we were using web services, proxies, your iDocs, and now we are moving more towards your APIs. Even if you see the RESTful application programming model, okay, with this RESTful application programming model which SAP talks about the way forward in the upcoming years. So there they have given only two options, whether you expose as a OData V2 or V4, or you expose as a web API.
Okay. True. Yeah, that is Are we going to discuss about the RESTful application anytime in this one?
No. That is not a part of this. But like obviously we seem to launch a course in the upcoming months. We already had a lot of few batches on that, but yeah, in this new year, obviously once we launch, you can please tune into the communication, and once you get an update, you may register for the same. So we do have a course with RESTful application programming model, which covers both your on-prem as well as on cloud. So on-prem basically, though the feature starts from 1909, but the more powerful features you get from 2021 onwards. But yeah, on cloud started way back from 1808.
So the cloud development is everything is done on RESTful application programming model, right?
Yep.
Most of the development,
It is all on your Eclipse, all on your basis of your CDS views, your business services definition, business services implementation. So the concept changes a bit, and the same. So when you are on this S4HANA 2020, 2021, these higher releases, you can obviously think from that perspective also to propose a solution if your requirement fits into that. It's not that you will always be able to achieve the customer's requirements through RAP, but if your requirement fits into that, you can obviously propose a solution with that particular application programming model.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe one more question, just a quick question. So as you mentioned, right, for PI we had monitoring tools, PI interfaces, as well as OData services. We have traces. APIs. How do we basically, if you are an enterprise?
Postman. Your best friend, Postman, buddy.
Oh, just one Postman. No, I'm talking about, for example, enterprise application, right? So there could be hundreds of APIs.
Postman, everything. Okay, two things. One is all the solutions which give their APIs, they have their own swaggers, as in their own utilities on their own sites, through which you can directly test them, but it's a kind of a sandbox connection. Okay, but now as I talked about, with coming to your own registrations with respect to the certification and authentication that your client will be setting it up, for that you can easily have those confidential data with respect to the encryption data that you have. Obviously the particular development team which will be handling that, they will be having those, right, at least for the test and the quality. Okay, so they can so you can easily test it out with your Postman. And then you can go for the implementation of the same.
Okay. So SAP doesn't provide any monitoring tool for REST API.
SAP as of now, it hasn't provided any. You can easily call it with Postman, like how you have SXMB, Moni, SRT_util and all. You were talking about on the same lines, right?
Yeah. So Postman, unless you know what APIs, I'm talking more from troubleshooting perspective. If you don't.
So if you see from troubleshooting perspective, directly I haven't come across any utility which has been provided by SAP till now. But Postman gives you a clear picture if the connection is happening or not, if the data is coming or not, how do you plan to use the same, and then how do you plan to convert the same into the code basis.
Okay.
And yes, as I talked about, connection issues may come where your basis team will come into picture with respect to the certificate and the trust setup.
Okay.
Kabir, Ankit here. I have a question. Like until now, OData is only dependent on the VPNs now. Means otherwise, if the organization is not using the VPN, then the service is public. No, I want to ask this question. Like, is there any other token?
No, but if you are if they do not, if the hotlist, the basis team hotlist the domain, how will you expose the data to public? You are using your app servers, right?
Right.
Domain and host. Will you be able to access that intranet details onto internet? Have you ever tried? You will not be able to.
Yes. So what basis team does here, basically?
So in that case, that's why I talked about. So in that case, when you want to do from an intranet to internet calls, like one project we had worked, they made use of a XAML configuration and did that connection with Windows AD configuration, so that the trust was set up and directly call can happen between internet and intranet, and some wrapper classes and all were built into picture. But then again, it was all non-SAP. SAP was only the service. It was all non-SAP, .NET, Java and all.
And another question I have, Kabir, is that for the APIs that we need to consume through OData, I am facing a limitation, like where the client API in the Swagger, if you find that they program their output of the API in such a way that it is all in a table format, like in the square brackets. But when I'm going to consume it in the post method in the SAP OData, I'm not able to use that. So I have asked them to remove that square brackets in the beginning. So is it the correct way, or is there any?
No, that's the correct way, because we see SAP is a framework, right? We have to operate within that framework. So if it does not support that, other team has to change.
Okay.
So what is the data? Are they sending in a JSON format?
Yes, they are sending in
JSON format. You cannot, right?
JSON format, so you can send data easily.
JSON you have to convert user program or any API integration. If you have
class is also there to convert to JSON data. Okay, if you are talking about that, they are using JSON data. So our OData anyway supports both XML and JSON. So if the data which you want to send, you just send that $format equals to JSON. The data will go in the JSON format only.
Yes, it is coming, Kabir. But the issue is that in the SAP, the framework uses D, the alphabet D, and all the
I understood. What you are telling, that D and then the column names and all, right?
Yes. And from their side, it is like coming like items, PO, like that. So they are not using the D. So it is becoming a problem for me to accept it.
Okay, then you need to mutually come into an agreement and tell that either you change your code in this way or you send data to me in this way.
Okay.
This we have come across, then we mutually had an agreement that this is how you can accept the data, this is what we can do up to maximum. So either you send us the data in this way or either we cannot consume your data.
Okay. Because it is not accepting it was not accepting it as a string format also. If they were,
I understood. Yeah, sometimes that restriction will be there because the other teams are also building with respect to their own this thing without thinking about our limitations.
They are like not ready to change because they are saying that this is our standard solution and they will need to change it in their architecture because they are already ready with their swaggers and all those things. So this is a point of conflict between our teams.
Okay guys, then so one quick thing, so this solution which we discussed about, I'll send you the same, but please do work on the same in case if whoever has not yet covered the same. Let me stop the recording.